What's up, everybody? Greg and Ryan here, and we are diving into the penultimate episode of Jordan Peele's The Twilight Zone Season 2.
Now, this is a spoiler warning. If you haven't seen the episode yet, get out of here, go watch it, and then come on back. Now, let's jump into Try. At the opening of this episode, we meet Claudia, played by Kylie Bunbury, who is working on her dissertation. She's voice recording everything on her phone, trying to keep everything as organized as possible.
And this is also one of the kind of rare moments of distinct modern technology in this season of the show. Where, a lot of times we haven't even seen a phone. And in this case, it's right there in your face. The device is a part of it. And what's super cool is that it's not just part of, this is what modern life is like, but it also is a little bit of a gateway into her character, where she's not just recording thoughts about her dissertation, but she's also reflecting on herself, like her kind of lack of social life and some other things as well.
Now, with that said, she gets a little distracted on that phone and she nearly gets flattened by a Dingle's moving truck. But just in time, miraculously, Mark, played by Topher Grace, is there to pull her out of the way. Sorry.
So they have a little laugh, they part ways, and they sort of wind up together again at the entry of the museum. He's buying tickets ahead of her, and he buys her ticket for her very insistently.
How convenient that he's waiting for her.
Yeah, and then that sort of rolls into what I think are some very awkward few minutes of this relationship developing, where there's almost like an implied silence that that he shouldn't continue, but he keeps going. For as awkward as the sequence is, and it's intentional, it's a good awkwardness, I think this is some of the best writing in the season. It's not heavy philosophical text, but it's floating there and it's pretty good. And both characters play it so well. The actors nail it.
I agree, and this whole episode takes place basically in that museum. With that said, it doesn't take too long for, I think, the audience at some point to click in their heads that, okay, I think we're in some kind of loop. Because right after that, after they're talking for a moment, Claudia and Mark catches a water bottle out of the air that's coming right at him. And then at that point, you should be going, okay, here we go. This is the Groundhog's Day loop. Hang on. And then we hear Jordan Peele's narration, and we know for certain that, okay, this is, we're going to get a loop episode. Awesome.
Yep, yeah, that was the moment for me, for sure. I was still thinking maybe it's something like that, but the water bottle catch was the one where that's where it clicked for me. That's where I was like, he's done this before. Now, the narrator makes a reference to a blind date here. I think that, and this is something will come up again in the breakdown for the next episode, but how much of this season is so consistent, internally consistent, that the episodes sort of rhyme with each other a little bit. And, we've already seen, especially in the first episode, disastrous dating. So from here, what happens is I guess the kind of the rom-com sequence of the show, where they're getting to know each other. He's, although something is up, is, kind of charming. There's connections that they have that are, pretty amazing, even though we're, of course, all imagining that to a certain extent this is severe manipulation.
Yes, his name's Mark with a C.
Right.
It's things like that that come into play. In the way that Topher Grace plays it off, each part waiting for a reward, he's giving her a treat, and he's just waiting for that reward back of just that smile or anything from her. It's so creepy. It works.
It's super creepy. And then right after the Mark with the C, we get the next, I think, resounding confirmation of the loop theory, which is where he asks her if she wants some gum, and then at that moment somebody drops gum at his feet, and he picks the gum up, and he's like, here. Now that she knows something is up and he knows she knows something is up, now it's the game of using his powers to impress her. And that brings us to the boat.
And it still kind of feels like we're getting this love story, but at the pit of your stomach, something unsettling's happening right now, especially when they jump into the boat and it looks like they're just about to kiss. And things just from that moment on get a little weird.
As I said before, I really like the writing in this episode, and one of the good little sort of dialogue nods right before they get in the boat, Mark says, "You only live however many times, right?" And it's like, yeah.
Now, after they get out of the boat, Claudia wants some answers. And Mark does straight up tell her that, yes, I know everything about you. Gets a little eerie, and he tells her, I've been working on this date for quite some time.
Right in there, another excellent line from the episode when he says, "I'm the foremost leading expert on today."
And from there, this is when he starts to go off on this full-on power trip where he's showing her, like, I know what's going to happen at this point. I know this guy's name. I know his family. I know what's about to happen right now at this point in time. And Claudia's freaking out. She doesn't know what the hell's going on. And then he's starting to play with things in the museum itself because he knows about security. So he picks up an oar. Now we're in the creep territory as he slaps her on the ass right after.
Right. This is the point where he kind of finally begins to unravel, as you would expect on some levels, being trapped in that space.
Uh-huh.
Not to sound overly sympathetic towards a total creep, which is also the problem here, but this is like definitely drifting into the dark waters at this point.
And this is when he begins to mansplain everything to her and lets her know that he's been manipulating events from the very beginning of the day to try to create the perfect date with her because he loves Claudia, even though Claudia doesn't know him. Cool.
Yeah, and for as creepy as that is, this also made for some of the most entertaining moments in the episode, like the Bob Johnson thing where he's just making up random names, but each one gets a slightly different reaction from her until he like lands on one that makes her laugh.
Bill Thompson. Phil Thompson. Bob Johnson. Okay.
And then, like, the male privilege comes all the way out when she's, rejecting this, and he says, "You're lucky I'm nice."
This immediately leads to the inevitable end for him where he gets his ass kicked. It was a little weird and creepy. I didn't know where they're going to take it when he, pulls out that sword. But obviously it ends with him getting punched, knocked over, and he just tells her, like, hey, this may be the end for you, but this is going to start all over again for me. So you get this creepy feeling like, what the hell's he going to do the next timeline? But the very next day, for whatever reason, he stops. You know what? He thought maybe he's just thinking, you know what, today I'm going to back off. I'm just going to maybe start anew and try something else here. And
gonna do something different today.
Something different. I mean, let me see what else is going on here, because maybe this love is not this love storyline that I'm trying to create is not working. And we also find out Claudia, she wasn't going to get hit by that truck apparently.
Right.
In the timeline anyway. He didn't need to save her.
Right. It missed her anyway. Is like the sort of like final twist. And I don't know. The ending here has like some weird notes to it. I think you pointed out that like it's an oddly happy ending for the story.
Yeah, because the episode's so unsettling. I feel like they had to figure out a way to make it happy when, just in your mind, you're thinking, okay, if this guy's got the God complex going on and he just got his ass handed to him, and for all the things he just said moments prior, it seems like he would make her life a living hell the very next day. But I don't think they wanted to end the episode on that at all. So here we are with him just backing off, and Claudia lives to fight another day in this time loop. Yeah,
and it's not precisely like he's totally off the hook for his actions, and it's not like it's too much of a like he learned his lesson kind of message either. It's definitely a little bit ambivalent, but it did feel oddly optimistic given how bleak the rest of its handling of its version of Groundhog Day was.
A dingle moving truck nearly flattens Claudia at the beginning of the episode. This is a nod to the classic episode Mr. Dingle the Strong.
It's also worth noting that Mr. Dingle moving has specifically come up already in this season. The moving truck also reads, "We've been moving since 1959, which happens to be the first year of Serling's Twilight Zone."
Now, those are the two that we spotted, and when I say we also mean CBS, because they released a video, just like they did for Among the Untrodden, on Twitter, and also their website, which has a little video that just shows the Easter eggs from this episode. Now, there are only two, and I am stunned. I'm actually shocked that they did not put the mask from the classic episode, The Mask, in the museum, hidden within the mask. Now, if you guys spotted it, let us know, and let us know in the comment section down below, or any other Easter eggs from this episode. But those are the only two we've spotted so far. Again, I'm shocked they didn't put that mask anywhere in this episode. I thought I would see it for sure.
Okay, Greg, let's get into our impressions of this episode.
I think this is it. We can now officially end the Groundhog Day loop storylines. I think that's it.
Just
we now
put it to
got
bed.
It's time to put it to bed. We now got another version of it. We saw the other side of this coin. I'm happy that we saw it. I'm glad we did it. And that's it. I think we can now just put it to bed. Even though I know Russian Doll's coming back for a second season, but I assume they're not going to go with that plot this time around. That conceit's done. But with that said, I really like the messaging of this episode. I'll say that, at least when it comes to the male privilege. It just felt like someone on a first date. Maybe they met on Tinder or OkCupid, and they just Facebook stalk, Instagram stalk their date. They're looking through their entire profile through Facebook, everything about them, and then they finally meet, and the date doesn't go the way they want it to. It doesn't end the way they want it to, and then they start to get upset, like it's the other person's fault. Like they did all the homework, they know everything about them, so it should go perfectly well. And that's not how life works, because they don't know anything about this person other than what they think they know about them. So yeah, I like where they're going with this episode.
I'm with you on all of those points, Greg. I actually think this was one of the better executed episodes of the season in terms of acting, writing, and overall production. It is an interesting twist on the Groundhog Day format. To tell it from the point of view of the outsider and done through the lens of this modern Twilight Zone makes it all the more awesome. The same can be said for several episodes this season, a season which has been extremely consistent in putting its spin on now classic genre pieces. All in all, I totally like it, and it fits with how we've gotten the science fiction stories, we've gotten the simulation, we've gotten the monster movie, we've gotten all of these classic things, and now we get the Groundhog Day. And it's a very well done version of one of those. So it feels good. It's just not like doesn't blow your mind completely.
Okay, that's it for us over here, everybody. Let us know what you thought of the episode in the comment section down below, and we'll be back here to go check in on that mad woman stuck in the oxygen tower before we get out of here. Until then, be safe. Bye-bye.